Raymond and Janet stood facing each other. No words. No movement. Just silence stretching into minutes. Around them, the world continued, people walked past, voices echoed, announcements played, but none of it reached them. Their eyes stayed locked, refusing to let go. In Raymond's mind, thoughts collided. The family name. The overseas business. Ed's expectations. His mother's voice. And then Janet, right in front of him, real, vulnerable, impossible to ignore. For Janet, every second felt heavy. She searched his face, reading the hesitation, the struggle, the unspoken apology. Her heart raced with questions she was afraid to ask. Is this goodbye? Did I ever truly belong in his world? Time slowed. Their silence said everything words could not. Love hung between them, fragile, trembling, waiting to be chosen or abandoned. Neither of them spoke. Because in that moment, they both knew. Whatever came next would change everything. One of Raymond's friends, who had accompanied him to the airport, noticed immediately. He saw the stiffness in Raymond's shoulders, the way his eyes locked onto Janet, the silent battle raging within him. This was no ordinary pause, this was doubt. Quietly, without drawing attention, the friend stepped away. He moved into a corner near the glass wall, shielding himself from view. His fingers trembled as he dialed a number he knew by heart. Ode. As the call connected, his voice dropped to a whisper. Raymond has seen her, and he's hesitating. On the other end of the line, silence fell, heavy, dangerous silence. And in that moment, destiny split into two parts. The airport surged with movement, departures announced, footsteps echoing, leaves pushing forward without pause. But Raymond stood still. His suitcase rested by his side, his passport loose in his hand, his body frozen as his eyes met hers. Janet. For her, the journey to the airport had been driven by instinct, not certainty. She hadn't planned what to say, only that she could not let him leave without seeing him one last time. As their eyes locked, her chest tightened. Relief and fear collided inside her. He was here, but was she already too late? She searched his face, silently begging for an answer he had never given her. Is he leaving me? Was I ever part of his plan? Raymond tried to move. He couldn't. Janet felt it instantly, the hesitation, the struggle etched across his face. Hope flickered in her chest, fragile and dangerous. If he was hesitating, then maybe she still mattered. Maybe love still had a voice. But fear whispered louder. If he walks away now, this is the end. They stood there, gazing into each other's eyes, the world suspended between them. Love pulled tight like a stretched wire, ready to snap. Around them, passengers moved forward, but Janet and Raymond remained locked in that silent moment, two hearts speaking without words. Above them, the boarding call echoed again. Janet's breath caught. Raymond's heart raced. And fate waited for one of them to move first. Raymond remained silent for a long while. The airport lights reflected off his face as thoughts raced through his mind, his family's expectations, the overseas business waiting, the life he was supposed to step into. Then there was Janet, standing right in front of him, her eyes heavy with fear and unanswered questions. He took a deep breath. Slowly, deliberately, Raymond lifted his head and looked at her, not as a billionaire's son, not as a deputy managing director, but as a man torn by love. Janet, his voice came low, steady, but heavy. Go back home. It's getting late. Her heart skipped. Confusion washed over her face. I've aborted the trip, he continued, his eyes never leaving hers. At least for now. We need to talk properly. We'll have discussions about everything. Janet's breath caught. She didn't know whether to feel relief or fear. Hope crept in softly, fragile but alive. For the first time since she arrived, the weight on her chest eased, just a little. Around them, the final boarding call echoed. Somewhere outside, the plane waited. But Raymond had made his choice. For now, love had won. Yet as Janet turned slowly to leave, neither of them noticed the quiet figure watching from a distance, or the phone still glowing in a hand. Because some decisions don't end stories. They only delay the storm. Janet boarded a bus heading back into the city. The doors shut with a tired hiss, and the bus pulled away, swallowed by Lagos traffic. She sat by the window, clutching her bag, her reflection staring back at her, quiet, unsure, unfinished. The city rushed past her in broken images, streetlights, vendors, moving shadows. Her mind replayed everything: Raymond's hesitation, his words, his silence. Had she stopped him, or had she only delayed the inevitable? Her heart felt torn between relief and fear. He chose me, but for how long? What happens when the family steps in? As the bus swayed through the night, Janet leaned her head against the window, uncertainty wrapping around her like the hum of the engine. The journey was over. But the affair was far from settled. Raymond drove through Lagos in silence. The city lights blurred past his windshield as his car cut through the night. His hand stayed firm on the steering wheel, but his mind was nowhere near the road. The decision he had made at the airport pressed heavily on his chest. Then his phone began to ring. First, Ode. Then his mother. Then business associates, one after the other. The screen lit up again and again, vibrating against the console like a warning that refused to be ignored. Raymond didn't answer. He couldn't. Every call carried expectation, disappointment, questions he wasn't ready to face. By the time he reached his apartment, the calls had multiplied, missed calls stacking like accusations. Raymond stepped inside, shut the door, and leaned against it. The phone rang once more. He stared at it for a long moment. Then he switched it off. The silence that followed was heavy, unfamiliar, and frightening. Outside, Lagos kept moving. Inside, Raymond sat alone with his choice, knowing that by morning, nothing would be the same. It was just before midnight when the knocking came again, loud, impatient, relentless. Raymond opened the door, and Ode walked in without invitation. The air tightened instantly. Ode didn't waste time. Why did you abort the journey? He demanded. Do you realize what you've put at risk? Raymond stayed silent. Ode stepped closer, anger sharpening his voice. Was it because of that street girl? He scoffed. Or that gold digger, Janet? That was when Raymond snapped. Stop, he said firmly. Ode froze. Stop insulting Janet, Raymond continued, his voice low but unshaken. She is not a gold digger. She is not what you think. Ode stared at him, stunned. I love her, Raymond said, each word landing heavily in the room. And I won't allow you, or anyone, to speak about her like that. The silence that followed was thick, almost violent. Ode laughed coldly. Love, he said. Is that what you're risking the family business for? Raymond met his brother's gaze. I didn't cancel the trip forever, he said. I just need more time. Time to think. Time to be sure. Ade's jaw tightened. His disappointment hardened into something darker. This isn't how our family works, he said quietly. Raymond didn't look away. Maybe that's the problem. The brothers stood facing each other, two men raised under the same roof, now standing on opposite sides of a line that could never be erased. And outside, the night listened. Ade left Raymond's apartment with anger riding shotgun. The night swallowed his car as he drove through empty streets, his thoughts burning hotter with every mile. This was no longer just about a missed trip, it was about control slipping away. He didn't go home. He drove straight to their mother's house. By the time he arrived, the lights were already on. Inside, the air was thick with impatience. Ade wasted no time. He laid everything on the table, the aborted journey, Raymond's defiance, the girl. Janet. Their mother's face hardened with every word. So it is that girl again, she said coldly. That roadside girl. Her anger rose quickly, sharp and unforgiving. She spoke bitterly, dismissively, her words cutting deep even in Raymond's absence. To her, Janet was a threat, unpolished, unwanted, dangerous to the family name. Ade nodded. She's distracting him. He's losing focus. Their mother's eyes narrowed. Then, slowly, something shifted. I've been thinking, she said at last. Ade leaned forward. There are ways to end this, she continued calmly. Raymond only needs the right reminder of who he is, and where he belongs. She paused, then added, almost casually, I will find one of Raymond's childhood female friends. Someone respectable. Someone still single. Ade understood immediately. She'll be sent to him, their mother said firmly. Close enough to remind him of his roots. Close enough to push that Janet out. A quiet agreement settled between them. Janet had become a problem. And in their world, problems were removed, not confronted. The plan was set. And far away, unaware of the storm forming around her, Janet slept peacefully, for now. The following evening, Raymond invited Janet to his apartment. The city glowed softly outside the windows as they sat across from each other, the space between them filled with emotions neither of them knew how to contain. This was no longer an airport moment, this was real life, unfolding slowly. Raymond spoke first. He reassured her gently, telling her how much her love meant to him. That he appreciated her. That he loved her. And that, for now, he had no intention of traveling anywhere. Janet listened carefully, her heart easing with every word. Then she asked quietly, was your plan to leave Nigeria, to migrate? Raymond shook his head. He explained that the trip had never been about escape. It was meant to place him in charge of an overseas branch of his family business, a responsibility handed down, not chosen. Janet went silent for a moment, then surprised him. Then maybe you should go, she said softly. So the business won't suffer. Raymond looked at her, shook his head again. I've lost interest in the trip, for now. She hesitated. Won't your family be angry? They won't, Raymond replied confidently. At that exact moment, his phone began to ring. An unfamiliar number. Raymond frowned and answered. Hello. A calm female voice came through the line. Good evening. My name is Stella. Janet felt something shift. And somewhere, unseen, the plan had just taken its first step. And Stella has just entered the picture. Will love survive, or is this the beginning of the end?